One of the most misunderstood traits of INFJs is their ability to care so deeply yet withdraw completely. They can pour their soul into helping someone, listen for hours, offer genuine comfort, and seem to carry the emotions of others like sacred burdens. But then, almost without warning, they can retreat into silence and isolation. People interpret this as coldness or rejection, but it's not. INFJs absorb emotional energy like sponges, and too much of it can overwhelm their internal system. Their sudden withdrawal is often a desperate attempt to protect their peace and restore emotional balance. What others see as mood swings are really waves of emotional saturation and recovery. Their empathy is another trait that most people find difficult to understand. INFJs don't just understand how others feel, they feel it. They can walk into a room and sense tension before anyone speaks, pick up on sadness behind a smile, or detect insincerity hidden behind charm. This almost psychic sensitivity often unsettles people, especially those who prefer to hide behind masks. To an INFJ, energy never lies. They can sense when something feels off, even when logic says otherwise. This intuitive awareness can make them seem suspicious or overly intense, but for them, it's not imagination. It's information they absorb subconsciously. They read emotional vibrations the way others read facial expressions. Yet for all their emotional depth, INFJs are very private. They can listen to someone's entire life story and still reveal almost nothing about themselves. People often misinterpret this as distrust or aloofness, but it's a defense mechanism. INFJs guard their inner world because it's sacred to them. They have learned through experience that few people can truly understand their complexity without judgment or misunderstanding. So they build emotional walls disguised as smiles, sharing only fragments of their thoughts while keeping their core deeply hidden. To them, vulnerability must be earned, not assumed. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Mastery course today. The link is in the description of this video. Another trait that confuses people is how INFJs seem both idealistic and pragmatic. They dream of a better world, imagine harmony among people, and believe in moral integrity, but they're not naive. In fact, they are often painfully aware of human flaws and corruption. What others call idealism in them is not blindness to reality, but a refusal to surrender to it. They hold on to hope as an act of quiet rebellion, believing that change is possible even when the world disappoints them. This duality, seeing both the light and the darkness, makes them visionaries who can lead with compassion yet remain grounded in truth. Their contradictions extend to relationships as well. INFJs crave deep, soulful connection, but they're also fiercely independent. They long to be understood, but struggle to let people in. They want love that feels like home, yet fear being confined or misunderstood. When they meet someone who resonates with them, they can be intensely present, warm, and loyal. But if that person breaks their trust or disrupts their emotional balance, they can vanish without a trace. It's not vindictive, it's protective. They leave quietly, carrying the weight of unspoken pain, because confrontation feels like an unnecessary wound. To most people, their perfectionism seems unnecessary or even exhausting. INFJs hold themselves to impossibly high standards, not because they want to impress others, but because they have an internal moral compass that demands authenticity. They want everything they do to have meaning. They can't tolerate half-hearted efforts or shallow motives. Whether it's their work, relationships, or personal goals, they seek alignment between what they believe and what they do. This quest for integrity can make them appear rigid or overly idealistic, but to the INFJ, it's about living truthfully. Compromise feels like self-betrayal. INFJs can appear calm on the outside while storms rage within. They rarely explode or argue openly. Instead, they internalize their struggles, analyze every angle, and process emotions privately. People often mistake their silence for indifference, but that's far from the truth. Their stillness is a shield. It's how they manage inner chaos without burdening others. They believe their emotions are theirs to manage, not someone else's responsibility. This emotional self-containment makes them appear serene, even when they're silently breaking inside. Then there's their ability to understand people they don't even like. INFJs can empathize with someone's pain, even when they disapprove of their actions. They can explain why a cruel person became that way, why a manipulator hides behind charm, why a liar feels the need to deceive. This frustrates those who expect them to pick a side, but INFJs rarely see the world in black and white. They understand that everyone has a story, even the ones we condemn. Their compassion extends even to those who don't deserve it, not because they excuse wrongdoing, but because they believe in the possibility of redemption. Their intense need for meaning also confuses many people. INFJs can't do just because. They need to know why something matters, how it connects to the bigger picture, and whether it aligns with their values. This can make them seem overthinkers or dreamers who take life too seriously. But for them, meaning is oxygen. Without it, they wither. They're not satisfied with surface-level experiences or small talk. They crave depth, purpose, and emotional truth. It's why they often feel out of place in a world obsessed with trends, image, and instant gratification. Their souls wired for depth in a culture that rewards shallowness. INFJs can be both compassionate and ruthless. They forgive easily, sometimes too easily, but when their limits are crossed repeatedly, they can cut people off permanently without explanation. This sudden coldness shocks others, especially those who once saw only their warmth. But this is not cruelty, it's self-respect. INFJs give chance after chance until they realize the other person has no intention of changing. At that moment, their empathy transforms into emotional detachment. They don't seek revenge or closure. They simply disappear, reclaiming their peace as quietly as they lost it. They often predict events, outcomes, or emotional shifts long before they happen. It's not magic. It's the culmination of intuition, pattern recognition, and empathy. They subconsciously collect emotional and behavioral data from people, then connect dots faster than most realize. Their insights can feel uncanny, almost supernatural, and that can unsettle those who prefer predictable logic over intuitive knowing. Yet to the INFJ, it's natural. They don't try to explain it. They just know. INFJs can seem lonely even when surrounded by love. They can have friends, family, even a partner who cares deeply, yet still feel like no one truly sees them. This existential loneliness stems from their complexity. Their thoughts are layered, their emotions nuanced, their inner world vast and poetic. They crave connection that transcends words, one where silence itself feels understood. Until they find that, they carry a quiet sadness, a longing for resonance that few can give. They often move through life with an inner rhythm that defies societal tempo. While the world pushes speed, urgency, and constant action, INFJs operate from reflection and intuition. They need to feel that the timing is right before committing to a step, even if logic says it's time to move. To others, this can look like procrastination or indecision, but for the INFJ, it's alignment. They wait until the emotional and spiritual atmosphere feels settled. They sense that forcing things before their season leads to imbalance. This patient precision is why they often make remarkably wise decisions, but also why they frustrate fast-paced personalities who mistake their quiet deliberation for hesitation. They rarely say things directly, especially when emotions are involved. Instead, they speak in layers, metaphors, stories, and hints, expecting those close to them to read between the lines. This poetic style can be mesmerizing, yet confusing to literal thinkers. They might describe their feelings through imagery. I feel like a window in the rain, rather than plainly stating, I'm sad. For INFJs, emotional truths are often too sacred or fragile to be handled bluntly. They trust those who can interpret subtlety. Those who can't often walk away bewildered, unsure what was really meant. INFJs avoid open confrontation, not because they lack courage, but because harsh energy drains them. They prefer peaceful dialogue, gentle truth, and emotional reasoning. However, when they're pushed past their threshold, something surprising happens. Their tone shifts, their words cut with startling precision, and they reveal a side that's both fierce and calm. They become articulate defenders of their boundaries, exposing hidden truths with surgical clarity. People who only knew their soft side often find this transformation unsettling. It's not that INFJs enjoy conflict. It's that they repress so much until they have no choice but to release it with controlled fire. They carry a wisdom that feels ancient, as if they've lived many lives. Their insights about human nature, morality, and meaning seem to spring from somewhere beyond their years. Yet at the same time, there's a childlike purity to their wonder, the way they get excited by small acts of kindness, their fascination with beauty, their need for sincerity. This blend of depth and innocence makes them magnetic but hard to categorize. Some see them as mentors, others as dreamers. They can discuss philosophy one minute and giggle over a cartoon the next. To the INFJ, both are sacred. One feeds the mind, the other the soul. One of their most misunderstood patterns is their cycle of burnout and renewal. INFJs often take on too much, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because they genuinely want to make a difference. They absorb other people's burdens, fix problems, mediate tension, and act as emotional healers. Eventually, they collapse into silence, disappearing from social circles, skipping calls, even quitting jobs or projects that once inspired them. Outsiders see this as inconsistency or weakness, but for the INFJ, it's survival. Their inner world needs solitude the way lungs need air. They withdraw not to escape responsibility, but to heal, to empty the emotional noise, and to reconnect with their original purpose before re-emerging stronger than before. Another perplexing aspect of the INFJ is their sensitivity to beauty. They don't just see a sunset, they feel it. A song, a painting, a scent, or even the way light filters through a curtain can move them to tears. Their emotional connection to art and nature often seems excessive to others who cannot grasp how sensory experiences awaken their soul. This is not sentimentality, it's spiritual resonance. For INFJs, beauty is proof that goodness still exists in the world. It reminds them why they endure heartbreak, why they keep believing, and why love is worth fighting for even when everything feels bleak. INFJs can detect pretense instantly and are quietly repelled by it. They crave genuine people, those who speak with sincerity and act with integrity. When they sense dishonesty, they don't always confront it directly. They simply begin to distance themselves, fading from view without explanation. To others, this seems mysterious or passive-aggressive, but to the INFJ, it's self-preservation. They'd rather retreat into solitude than stay entangled in shallow or deceitful energy. Their moral compass doesn't just guide what they do, it governs what they allow into their space. Many INFJs appear humble, even self-effacing, yet deep down, they possess an almost ferocious drive to fulfill their vision. They may dream of writing books, building humanitarian projects, or influencing change on a global scale, but they rarely announce these ambitions. They prefer to work quietly, often behind the scenes, until their creation is ready to speak for itself. This mix of humility and hidden intensity confuses those who equate ambition with loud self-promotion. INFJs aim not for fame, but for impact. They measure success not by applause, but by transformation. While they lead with feeling, they possess an analytical streak that can surprise even themselves. They can dissect abstract theories, plan complex systems, or organize intricate details with almost obsessive precision. To others, it seems contradictory. How can someone so emotional also be so strategic? But for the INFJ, emotion and logic are partners, not rivals. Their intuition synthesizes both, allowing them to navigate life with both compassion and insight. They often move through life carrying invisible wounds, the ache of being misunderstood, the exhaustion of seeing too much, the loneliness of loving too deeply. Yet they rarely show it. They smile, encourage others, and continue to shine light in dark places even when they're running on empty. To most people, their calm strength makes no sense. But that is the beauty of the INFJ spirit. It endures quietly, loves fiercely, and believes stubbornly, even when the world cannot understand how or why. INFJs constantly feel out of place, even when everything looks right from the outside. They can be surrounded by friends, doing work they're good at, living what others might call a good life, and yet something in them quietly whispers that they're not where they're meant to be. This restlessness doesn't come from ingratitude. It comes from their deep need for purpose. For INFJs, existence without meaning feels hollow. They can't fake enthusiasm for long. If their soul isn't aligned with what they're doing, it begins to drain them. This search for home, a place, person, or mission that feels like truth, often confuses others who can't understand why someone would walk away from stability to chase something intangible. But for the INFJ, peace isn't found in comfort. It's found in alignment. INFJs are also prone to what can be called emotional mirroring. Without realizing it, they often adapt their energy to match whoever they're with. Around loud, energetic people, they become more animated. With quiet souls, they grow even softer. This ability to reflect others is rooted in empathy, but it can leave them feeling identity-less after long interactions. They often need solitude to wash off the energies they've absorbed and return to their own baseline. To others, this chameleon-like trait seems inconsistent, as though the INFJ doesn't know who they really are. In truth, they know too much. They sense every emotional wavelength around them, and their spirit naturally adjusts in response. INFJs can be both deeply spiritual and quietly skeptical. They believe in divine order, higher purpose, and the unseen forces that shape life. But they also question everything. They don't follow blindly. They dissect beliefs, doctrines, and ideologies, searching for the essence behind them. They crave faith that feels authentic, not inherited. This blend of reverence and critical thinking makes them seem paradoxical to both religious traditionalists and rigid rationalists. They exist in the in-between, believing fiercely, yet thinking freely. They can be so focused on the well-being of others that they forget their own needs entirely. They'll stay up late comforting a friend, even when they're emotionally exhausted. They'll put aside personal dreams to help someone else succeed. Yet, when they reach their breaking point, they often withdraw completely, shocking those who depended on their warmth. This cycle of giving and retreating is not manipulation. It's the cost of carrying too much emotional weight. INFJs give until the well runs dry, and then they vanish to refill it in silence. INFJs don't just endure suffering, they transform it. Instead of hardening, they often use their wounds to deepen their compassion. They analyze their heartbreaks, betrayals, and failures not with bitterness, but with curiosity, asking, "What does this try and teach me?" This reflective resilience confuses those who expect trauma to turn people cold or cynical. But INFJs alchemize pain into wisdom. They believe that everything, even hurt, can be redeemed when seen through the lens of purpose. INFJs also have an uncanny way of remembering emotional details long after everyone else has forgotten. They recall not just what was said, but how it felt, the tone, the silence between words, the flicker of emotion on someone's face. This emotional memory makes them extraordinarily empathetic, but also haunted. They can relive old moments with full sensory intensity, especially those involving hurt or injustice. Others might accuse them of oversensitivity or dwelling on the past, but to the INFJ, the past is a living lesson. They carry memories like sacred texts, rereading them for insight rather than nostalgia. INFJs dream of making an impact, yet when recognition finally comes, they often shrink from it. Praise makes them uncomfortable. They downplay their achievements or divert attention to others. This humility isn't false modesty. It's rooted in their fear of ego corrupting purpose. They'd rather remain unseen than risk being misunderstood as self-serving. They crave influence, but only if it leads to genuine transformation. The spotlight feels like a distraction. What matters is whether the light changes someone's life. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Mastery course today. The link is in the description of this video.